When people talk about the NES, it's always the same pantheon: Mario, Zelda, Mega Man, Castlevania. Those are the gods of the 8-bit era, but beneath their thrones were mortals, franchises that stumbled out of arcades, movies, and in some cases boardrooms, each one promising greatness and delivering something closer to punishment. These aren't one-off disasters, no. These are series that tried again and again to win our trust, and instead became lessons in why we read the back of the box before we buy a game. So today we're opening a dusty drawer of cartridges that history forgot, the top 10 worst NES franchises. Now bear in mind that while I personally might not like your favorite game growing up, I cannot take away those memories. This list is subjective and from my own personal perspective. Just a little disclaimer, okay? Let's begin. Every kid knew the name. Double Dragon was the arcade experience. 2 brothers, 1 mission, and 1 giant brawl through the streets. On the NES though, it was like watching a great band perform without the drummer. The first game removed co-op completely, the double part of Double Dragon, and replaced it with a strange leveling system that makes you grind the same 2 thugs just to learn how to kick. Every fight feels like slow-motion ballet performed in knee-deep syrup. By the sequel, co-op returned, but the physics forgot how to exist. Sometimes your flying kick sends enemies into orbit, sometimes it just phases through them. And if you thought you could relax on normal, the game just ends early. No final level. You want closure? Pick hard mode. Then came Double Dragon 3, where Technos decided the ultimate challenge was to make you beat it in 1 sitting, with a shifty continue code that can be used after dying on levels 4 or 5. It's just stupid. Bimmy and Jimmy became a meme, but the real typo was pretending that this trilogy was balanced. Ambitious? Absolutely. But by the end, double referred to how often you died per minute. You'd think controlling the King of Monsters would be a guaranteed win. You stomp cities, fight kaiju, melt tanks, easy fun, right? No sir! Instead, Godzilla Monster of Monsters puts you on a slow hex grid board where every move leads to a side-scrolling level full of flying jellyfish and sadness. Godzilla trudges like a drunk fridge, his atomic breath feels like a flashlight, and the soundtrack drones on like a dying fax machine. Then Godzilla 2 drops the bomb. You don't even play as Godzilla at all. You play the military fighting him. Imagine buying a shark game and being handed a net, or an Indiana Jones game and you just get a whip in the mail. It's stupid. It's counterintuitive. You shuffle tanks around a map while the monsters wander off screen. There's no destruction, no power, no roar, just paperwork. 2 games, 2 extremes, one too slow, the other too soulless. Somehow both managed to make Godzilla boring, and that's a fucking feat. Few movie heroes scream video game like RoboCop. Guns, justice, chrome, it's built for pixels, and yet every NES RoboCop game feels like controlling a forklift in molasses. In the first game, you can't jump. Not barely jump, you literally cannot jump. And your gun only works when the game decides that you've earned it. The sequel added jumping, but cranks the difficulty up so high you'll wish you couldn't move again. Enemies spawn behind you, power-ups mock you from unreachable ledges, and your health melts faster than your enthusiasm. By RoboCop 3, they tried to make him fly, and the NES begged for mercy. The screen flickers, the music wheezes, and RoboCop looks like he's falling in slow motion through static. In the movies, he's unstoppable law. On NES, he's just a malfunctioning vending machine with a gun. Before Double Dragon, Technos made Renegade, which was all but the blueprint for the modern beat-em-up. The arcade version was raw and gritty. The NES version did not carry any of that, it was just stupid. You punch one way, then the other, but the timing's off. Half your hits miss, the rest get interrupted by flying kicks from nowhere, and that's basically the game. Target Renegade, which was the follow-up, tried side-scrolling but forgot to bring the fun. Enemies spawn again directly behind you, the hitboxes are a rumor, and the soundtrack loops like a car alarm. Now these games matter historically, but playing them feels like grading homework. They walked, so Double Dragon could limp. You fire up this game and that Konami logo hits, pure 80s glory. The title theme blares, the F-14 gleams, and you're ready to feel the need for speed. Then Mission 1 begins, and the fantasy immediately crashes into reality. Your first challenge is not dogfighting, it's landing on an aircraft carrier. You line up, follow the radio commands, adjust your speed, your altitude, and still, no matter how perfect your approach, the game decides it's time to go swimming. Once you finally get airborne, you discover Top Gun's real battle isn't in the skies, it's kind of against the controls. The radar flickers, enemies warp in and out of sight, and your targeting system locks onto empty space. Every missile you fire feels like a suggestion. It's less flight sim and more guessing game at 600 knots. Then comes Mission 2, the dreaded mid-air refueling. The screen calmly instructs up, down, left, right, as you desperately try to align with a tanker. One nudge too far and you explode mid-air. Every childhood dream of being Maverick going up in smoke. Top Gun, the second mission, made things a little bit better. It was smoother, it had better controls, real dogfights, even one-on-one duels. But the anxiety still remained. The thrill of flight is there, buried under constant warnings, fuel meters, and radio chatter at the bottom of the screen that adds nothing to the game. You don't fly these jets so much as you negotiate with them. You'd think Ghostbusters would make a great game. It's got gadgets, ghosts, attitude, fucking Harold Ramis. But on the NES, it's a financial simulator where you spend more time refueling your car than catching ghosts. You drive through bland streets, trap floating blobs that ignore your beams, and watch your budget bleed out faster than your patience. Then comes the Stairway to Zool, an endless climb where ghosts knock you down floors like Sisyphus with a proton pack. And when you finally win, the game congratulates you with the following. Congratulations, you have completed a great game. No. No. Then Ghostbusters 2 somehow got worse. Sluggish platforming, bad sound, and zero soul. Meanwhile, HAL in Japan made the new Ghostbusters 2, which had tight controls, real fun, but it was never released here. It was, however, released for PAL region, so congrats Europe, you got a great game. America got slimed, all the while Japan got monetary satisfaction. Master Higgins, the happiest caveman to ever ruin your afternoon. Adventure Island starts like a vacation, bright skies, tropical tunes, and a hero in a baseball cap ready to save his girlfriend. But that illusion melts away pretty fast. The fruit meter drains every few seconds, turning every level into a mad sprint for your next snack. Miss one jump, trip over a rock, and you're instantly punished. There's no mercy, no checkpoints, and no time to breathe. Just a smiling caveman on the verge of starvation. Now there is the infamous Hudson B, but I venture to say most kids didn't know about it. By the sequel, Hudson Soft must have realized players were suffering. Adventure Island 2 introduced dinosaurs, better control, and some semblance of genuine variety. Ice stages, swimming levels, even a sense of progress. For a moment, it feels like the series finally hit its stride. Then Adventure Island 3 showed up and hit copy-paste. New islands, same stress, and a few extra ways to die. Superheroes, check. Powers, check. Teamwork, check. On paper, the Uncanny X-Men should have been a slam dunk, a dream come true for Marvel fans. Instead, it plays like someone tried to recreate the comics from memory after losing their glasses. You get 6 playable heroes, Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Nightcrawler, Colossus, and Iceman, and not a single one feels right. The controls are floaty, attacks miss half the time, and every mission looks like a rejected Pac-Man maze. Cyclops blasts walls instead of enemies, Wolverine swings at thin air, and your AI partner, they mostly exist to run face first into corners and die. Then Wolverine finally gets his solo game, and it somehow makes things worse. The tone is darker, the music fucking rocks because it's Jeff Fallen, but the gameplay feels like punishment. Wolverine's healing factor barely activates, enemies respawn endlessly, and his jump physics make him feel like a rock with anger issues. The select button, instead of pausing, actually hurts him. To activate Wolverine's claws, you must take damage. It's like the developers wanted to simulate his suffering directly through your thumbs. Together, these games take some of Marvel's most beloved superheroes and turn them into lab experiments in frustration. Not mutant mayhem, not superhero action, just pure, unfiltered collision detection despair. The rainbow logo, 4 cheerful colors that meant only one thing: run. LJN's name became a symbol of fear for an entire generation of gamers. On paper, they had the dream lineup: Jaws, Karate Kid, Friday the 13th, Back to the Future, Beetlejuice, The Punisher, Terminator, Alien 3. Fucking awesome. In practice, each one was a masterclass in licensed disappointment, a different genre of regret shoved into a plastic cartridge. Back to the Future has you guiding Marty McFly down an endless looping street, dodging bees, collecting clocks, and wondering why time travel feels like doing community service. Friday the 13th, which I actually don't mind, drops you into a maze of cabins where Jason, dressed like Barney the dinosaur, appears out of nowhere to instantly end your hopes and dreams. Jaws asks you to stab jellyfish and crabs with a boat. Not a spear, not a harpoon, a boat! It's less survival horror and more marine pest control. What makes LJN's legacy unforgettable isn't just how bad the games were, it's how consistently bad they were. Every release felt rushed, lifeless, and just allergic to fun. Licensed music was missing, controls fought back, and the art often looked like it had been drawn in panic. They didn't make games so much as they made warnings. Each rainbow cartridge, a flashing sign that said, "Turn back before it's too late." At the height of its fame, The Simpsons was unstoppable. Toys, lunchboxes, t-shirts, an empire of yellow. But when it came to NES games, Springfield's favorite family just couldn't catch a break. Bart vs. the Space Mutant kicks off things by asking you to collect purple things. That's it. No explanation, no logic, just purple. The problem is, half the objects don't count, and the ones that do are usually placed where only masochists dare jump. The controls feel like Bart's wearing greased shoes, and every stage is a lesson in frustration disguised as fun. Then came Bart vs. the World, a supposed upgrade that sends Bart across the globe to battle enemies from every corner of the planet. It should have been a cartoon adventure bursting with creativity. Instead, every level feels like the same shitty maze. No jokes, no spark, just endless platforms and recycled ideas. By Bartman meets Radioactive Man, things have gone full parody, but not in a good way. Bart dons a superhero costume, gains a grappling hook that rarely works, and dives into a world so lifeless, it makes Springfield look like a ghost town. 3 games, 1 consistent failure. They completely missed the point of The Simpsons. Bart's supposed to be rebellious, witty, and full of energy. In all of these games, he's just another victim of bad design. If you ever wondered what Springfield would look like drained of humor, soul, and life, it's right there in these gray carts. But let's not forget, the NES was revolutionary. It was the console that rebuilt gaming itself. But it was also a wild frontier where ambition met ignorance and deadlines beat design. These 10 franchises are reminders of what that era really was: creative chaos. Some failed because of hardware limitations, some because of greed, and some, well, because LJN existed. Yet, even in failure, they mattered. Double Dragon pushed co-op. Renegade built the foundation for beat-em-ups. Adventure Island taught patience, or told you therapy existed. They weren't just bad games, they were the growing pains of a medium learning how to walk. So next time you blow in a cartridge and pray it works, remember, some of those worked perfectly. And that was the problem. And that's it for today's list. What are your 10 worst franchises on the NES? Feel free to let the community know down in the comments section below. Speaking of our community, if you made it to the end of this episode, you're already home with us. We're a gathering of video game enthusiasts that love to remember when life was just a little bit easier to live. And if you align with that, feel free to subscribe. Finally, the single most important thing you could do for me is to hit that thumbs up button, as it directly affects the visibility of the videos and the projects that I work on every single day. As always, from my family to your family, good energy, good vibes. Fortefyre out.